Well, it was a weekend quite all right, but you know what they say about politics? Politics never sleeps when you're snoozing on your bed. Believe me, politicians are either in a meeting, doing some closing ranks, what have you. So it's important to bring to you all of those happenings and sort of dig deeper, plus the happenings in the nation. This morning we're joined by Mr. Daniel Bwala. He's a lawyer and public affairs analyst, joins us virtually on the Morning Brief. Good morning, Mr. Bwala. First time on the Morning Brief. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. You guys are doing well. I started following it when it started. It's a program that has a variety of topics and different people are able to come and express themselves. So let me say you're doing well.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bwala. But, you know, when you look at the political situation in the country, I don't know if Nigerians can say to politicians, you are doing well, just like Mr. Macaroni would say in his skits. First, we saw what happened in Ondo State, you know, the primaries. I need you to tell us if you're now fully a member of the APC. But speak to us, because a lot of Nigerians say, this is the usual practice. Can we ever have politics played in Nigeria without the usual back and forth, people protesting, saying we're cheated, we didn't get election materials, this is a fraud, and the rest? You are a politician as well, but the beauty is you have views from both inside and outside. Help us understand the thinking, the mindset of the average politician, particularly with this primaries.
Yes, the very concept of democracy is man-made, and anything that is made by man will have its own frailties and problems. Funny enough, although it is man-made, it was not made in Africa. So it is, you can see the layer before it got down to Africa. And then when it came to Africa, democracy found its way through the cultures of men. And if you look at the way politics is played in Africa, not just in Nigeria, different parts of Africa, it is still largely influenced by cultural beliefs and the tendencies. So that's why democratic process, of course, which is reflected through elections, are not perfect. Sometimes they are characterized by so many factors, factors of influence, factors of rigging, factors of probably the use of force, taking of advantage, compromise of the institutions. All of these things are there. If you go to the Western world, they also have their own peculiarity. You can't believe that after how many years, America will still be saying that the election was rigged or the election was not perfect. So we understand that, first of all. And then the system will work itself out through the strengthening of the various institutions and party ideology. So I'm not surprised that in Ondo, for example, the process was complained about by those who didn't get what they want. But to the one who won, he will tell you that is the best form of democracy or election that has ever been held. I remember Abiola's election, when the election was adjudged as the freest, but the military didn't think it was free. So it is always like that, but I'm sure that we will all learn and grow as we keep pushing.
But Mr. Bwala, I was asking you on the side as well, because we need to understand where you stand. PDP, APC, PD, APC, you've heard this question a lot, so help us put it to rest this morning. Yes,
well, I have put that to rest many months ago, even on your channel's network through a sister program. But if you want to also hear it in your own program, then it is okay to say that, you know, I was a member of APC and then I moved to PDP during the election. And then after the election got concluded, everything settled, I decided to support the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And there are 1,001 Nigerians who are supporting him. Some of them are not even partisan. Some belong to different political parties. Others belong to their political parties. So at the moment, I'm a member of PDP, but if you tell me whether my mind, soul, and spirit is in PDP, I will tell you no. And I have not officially joined APC because everything you do, it has to be taken progressively and step by step. So this is where we are. I am an independent.
Some would ask if you are now following in the footsteps of the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike. But, you know, you can answer that while you also reflect on this next bit of the question, which is still staying with the Ondo primary. Specifically, would you say the factors of rigging and all other influences also showed up in the Ondo APC primary, where a lot of people had said, look, the governor, an incumbent, stood no chance, particularly because he was a newcomer, and all the other contenders in the primary are bigger politicians when you consider the history, you know, and the political makeup of the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State?
Well, to be frank and fair, I do not have all of the facts to make a conclusion as to whether it is fair, free, or it was fraud. That's one. But also because I have participated in politics, and I remember in 2018 or thereabout, I also ran for Senate of the FCT in APC during the primaries. And I have my own experience to talk about, you know, to suggest that sometimes it may not be rigging, it can be decision of the party. And sometimes it can be incumbency factor. So for those who think that he became a governor, substantive governor not long ago, therefore he stood no chance, there can be a counter argument, because the power of incumbency and sometimes the benefit of knowing that somebody is already there and all you need is just to give a little support and then you are home and dry can be a factor that will work for him. And then a bigger picture might also be what is the body language of the party at the national body. Because in political party, actually, sometimes it is difficult for you to think that primaries are started and concluded in on their own face value. Sometimes there is a body language of the party. If the body language of the party is in a certain direction, you discover that centrifugal and centripetal forces will walk in that direction. Now, whether you call that bad or good is what I don't know, because after all is said and done, our electoral act says that it is a political party that sponsors a candidate. This is where we have the problem. If it is a political party, then political party can influence how a candidate emerges. This is what I want to say. I can't remember the first one that you said I should talk about when I reflect.
Well, I was asking if your independent spirit is like that of the Minister of the FCT.
Yes.
Now, and will you see you getting an appointment eventually with this current government? Governor Wike and I may have shared or are sharing different ideological motivation. In the case of Wike, he is not just a member of PDP, an active member of PDP, but a stockholder. In fact, a lot of people, if you ask them, they will tell you he runs the party, even at the moment. And then, of course, he's appointed by the government of President Bwala, and he's doing well. I guaranteed an interview a few days ago. I was asked to assess the ministers. I said he's one of the ministers that are doing very, very well. So, but in my own case, I am not a National Working Committee member. I'm not a leader of the party. I have never held a public office that was sponsored by that party. And although when PDP started, we were all, apologists of PDP, but I have not, if you look at my the lifespan of my political activities, I had only spent about a year or less in PDP, but I've spent more than 8 years in APC. So we have a different we have a distinctive characteristics and then probably distinctive motivation. You also asked a question about appointment. I don't know why in Nigeria, a lot of people think that you can only support a person if you are going to be appointed. That is a bigger picture. Someone like me, I do not think that being appointed is the only reason for my motivation to supporting the president, or that the thing that will give me the joy. For the past 8 years of President Buhari's government, I played one of the leading roles in that government as far as the management of the perception of that government. I have never been appointed. It has never limited my motivation or stopped me from doing it, because I believe that what you bring to the table is not just limited to appointment. There are lots of people who are appointed, they are not relevant. So appointment is not really the issue or the motivation behind what we do. If you have a second address, then you can have stability in your life. But if your only address is politics, then you can do anything and everything for what you can get. In my own case, I have second, third, and fourth address.
Mr. Bwala, it's great to hear this perspective. So we use the advantage we have, which is the fact that you are a politician and a member of the bar. So let's move on from the issue of Ondo politics and your personal issues of in terms of politics to the issue of EFCC versus Bello, the former governor of Kogi State. So help us make sense of what is playing out in terms of the politics and the legalese, because I'm careful is a subject under adjudication. There's a hearing today, there's another hearing tomorrow. So there's a fine line we can play around. But that's why I said, as a politician and as a lawyer, expansively and generically help us make sense of what is happening. We know the facts. We've been following the story.
Well, the politics of it is quite complicated. In fact, the more you see, the less you understand, because he's a member of the governing party. So if you say it is politics, how come it is the member of the governing party that is being investigated or attempt is made to prosecute him? Secondly, the alleged offense did not start after President Bwala became president. It was during Buhari. In fact, at that time, they were even making effort to arrest individuals in that government. So you have to extricate that from politics. But the legal aspects and the institutional effort point of view, a lot is to be unpacked. There are faults of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, quite frankly. And then there are things that you can say are the fault of Bello. For example, the fault of Bello, in my view, is that any attempt to evade arrest or face the law is in itself an offense. Even if you have an order of court that says you should not be arrested, prosecuted, or investigated, these kind of orders usually are strange. But even if you have it, once the law enforcement are at the door of your house saying they have a warrant to arrest you or that you are invited, you are expected by law to go. The remedy you have is that if they are in contempt of court, your lawyers can file Form 49, which is the contempt proceedings. And if that contempt proceeding go through, that EFCC is in violation of the order that you receive, then the court can commit the chairman of EFCC to prison. And this is something that is visible, doable. I remember when Abdurrashid Bawa was in power, there was a time court gave a contempt order for him to be remanded in prison. But I think they appeal against it. That is the way law and order works. But evading it will create a lot of problems. Now, this is the fault of EFCC. The fault of EFCC is that if there is a substantive order that somebody should not be arrested, prosecuted, or investigated, even if you think the order was obtained by fraud, you are supposed to obey that order or challenge the order. In this case, it is said that EFCC challenged it and that the date for the hearing of the matter hasn't come when they went to arrest him. That is wrong and we must say it. Secondly, when you went to his house, there are certain things to be pointed out as the problem of EFCC. One, there is the issue of interagency lack of cooperation, because the intricacies of intelligence and arrest is that when you identify a suspect and you track and trace a suspect to a location, you have to do your work before going to know whether when you go to perform the operation, you are likely going to be faced with resistance. If the suspect is a VIP, there is a presumption that you will have either police or SSS guarding him. So that means that as EFCC operatives, you are supposed to contact the heads of these two security platforms that you are going to carry out an operation based on the order of court. Please ask your main there not to resist our attempt to arrest or withdraw the men. And I doubt if EFCC did that, because if they had done that, the law enforcement that were protecting him will not have attempted to resist them. Secondly, when they came to the scene and immediately were resisted by that, there ought to have been a communication between the chairman and the other sister agency. For 3 hours, they were dramatizing this thing until a governor left Kogi and drove to Abuja. Now, under operation, there are operational rules in intelligence. There is what is called 25% rule, 25 minutes rule. 25 minutes rule is when you go to conduct operation. If in 25 minutes you are not able to do that, the operation itself is a failure. You are supposed to retreat. These people stayed for 3 hours. They know the media were there. So there was either an effort to dramatize it in order to impress anybody at large, or that it is a lack of skills that is required. When you appear at the venue, as there are commercial drones that people use, you are supposed to run the drones if you do have. If you don't, you are supposed to have it. The drone will go right to his house. You will be able to look at the circumference of his house. You will be able to tell whether the suspect is there, is not there. But you see that because of the lack of intel in that area, there is even a conversation that the governor was not there. The governor from Kogi didn't come and go. All of these things are disgraceful and embarrassing.
Well, Mr. Bwala, so this played out on Wednesday for hours, and you've given some analysis of that. This is Monday, almost a week after, 5 days after that, and well, we've not seen any much changes. He's not been taken into custody. The EFCC, by the way, the appeal is meant to be heard today for EFCC trying to vacate that particular court order restraining it from arresting the former governor. It's meant to be heard today. That's the 22nd. But the point I'm trying to make now is nothing much has changed. It looks like both parties are still at loggerheads. And you've heard the EFCC saying they might even call in the military if they need to apprehend the former governor. You said the politics is quite complicated. A lot of people seem to see the body language of the president through what is playing out now. But my own concern is, how should this end?
You see, that's why I use the word, the whole thing is disgraceful, because number one, it is a reckless statement for EFCC to say they will call in the military to arrest a civilian. Now, two, they don't have the power to call the military. There's only one person that has power to call the military. He's called the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. He's the only one that can call the military. So that statement in itself is reckless. Two, three, is it not embarrassing that a private citizen will be having a loggerhead with a whole agency? Like what I tweeted that day was, I said, except if they are acting and they are doing simulation for a movie they are intending to produce, the whole thing is unnecessary. They are supposed to have intel about where he's whereabouts. He's protected by security. Okay, after that event yesterday, we learned that the securities were withdrawn from him. As at the last time when these security people were withdrawn, they ought to have reported to their respective commands of his whereabouts. Remember that both police and SSS, they have instruments for geo-tracking and geo-tracing. Three, they have already communicated with their sister agency, where now a, flight risk or whatever, watch list statement has been issued that wherever he is seen, he will be arrested. From all intents and purposes, he is believed to be in the country. I condemn the act of his lawyers who continue to misadvise him to evade the law, to dodge. This is the danger. If he keeps dodging and at the end of the day he's found and dragged to court, I will find it difficult to see any judge that will grant him bail. Because one of the conditions for the grant of bail is that the person will not be a flight risk. But if you are already evading like that, just like in the case of Maina, the minute you are able to be dragged to the court, even if you have people that will stand as surety, it might be difficult for the court to grant you bail. This is the danger. Now, those who are misadvising him are saying he has an order of court. If you have an order, who enforces the order? You can't enforce the order. You will still require the law enforcement to enforce your own right. So, and you talked about the body language of the president. I think Mr. President is trying to allow institutions to do their work. He doesn't want to be involved in it. Otherwise, you can make the same case in Ondo to say, what is the body language of the president? What is he saying? He's trying to disprove the naysayers that he manipulates or he influences everything. And so he allowed the thing to play out. And the way it is being, the person who at this point was supposed to put his foot and do what is necessary is the Attorney General, who is the chief law officer of the country. From that minute that incident happened, that hour, the Attorney General ought to have issued a statement. He later issued it, but much more later or the next day. But from that hour, he should have issued that statement. And if EFCC wanted to conduct operation, they are supposed to let the Attorney General know so he can tell IG of Police and DG of SSS to speak to their respective commands to make sure that there is no resistance. We can't keep having this type of nonsense in Nigeria. We are low, details of VIPs
usually they are more motivated. So sometimes they get carried away by that empowerment and motivation to think as if they are above the law. They don't know that the reason they are with the VIPs is because in the first place, they are servants of the public. And this is the reason why this whole thing, the way it is going about. I think the chairman of EFCC needs to have an introspect on how that anti-corruption body should conduct its affairs. Otherwise, I fear that we'll come to a point where we'll have anti-corruption agency that will not be respected by anybody.
And you know, Mr. Bwala, from there we could even also talk about the role of the current Kogi governor in helping the former governor to evade arrest, whether or not it happened, because the state government is now contending that. But more importantly, let's look at the outlook of this, you know, the perception of the work of the anti-graft agency vis-a-vis lessons from the past. Some would say this is not the first time we're seeing this. The EFCC even went as far as, you know, breaking into the home of former Imo governor in its attempt at prosecuting him. We could also talk about the former Ekiti state governor. And some would ask, where did all this lead? Some of these politicians are walking as free men. And so, what's the value in the work of this, the attempt at prosecuting the former Kogi governor? Is it leading anywhere?
Now, this is it. Now, there are people who will tell you that this whole thing is a drama. You know, it is drama and drama. But let me point out something, because a message, bad signal has already been sent by the conduct of the governor of Kogi. That section 308 immunity you are reading, that immunity is only conferred on the person of the governor. It does not confer immunity on his car, his house, or anywhere he goes. If an incumbent governor who enjoys section 308 tries to obstruct the course of justice, the use of reasonable force to resist him is permissible under the law. And he cannot go to court and claim that there is a violation of his fundamental right or there is a breach of section 308, because the section 308 confers immunity only on his person, not his car, his house, or someone else's house. That has to be made clear, so that if a governor tries this incident later and you hear a case of law enforcement manhandle him, he may not have a recourse in the court of law. That's one. Two, if you look at the EFCC and their modus operandi, that's why people when they accuse them, they say you only succeed in getting Yahoo people convicted and lately getting money mutilators convicted, but the high profile individuals whom the institution was established in the first place to deal with, you're unable to do that. You go to case, you end up not winning. And then the political also influence with. In the case of Okorocha, let me give you an example. They applied the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, I think section 11 and 12, where it says when you go to conduct operation to arrest, if you are resisted, use every force necessary, including breaking of the house, in order to carry out that operation. So they used that in Okorocha. Why didn't they use it in the case of Bello? Assuming you're applying the law disproportionately. Now, that's one. But two, you shouldn't even come to that point where you will have to be breaking people's houses. When you invite a suspect and he fails to show up, that's when you will declare him wanted. When you declare him wanted, this is an institution that's working. When you declare him wanted, you now use your executive responsibility of contacting either the IG of Police, Attorney General, the President, whoever is in that chain of command, that this is the decision of EFCC, this is what EFCC needs in order to be able to bring it to fruition. It will be done without all this Hollywood and Nollywood. But this idea of this drama, if it continues, it might get us to a point where there might be an exchange between the law enforcement that come to arrest and those who are protecting the VIPs, and then we see casualty. It does not portend well. And I'm sure wherever the president is seeing this, the president will quietly ensure that this thing does not happen again, because it does not portray the good image of democracy, the rule of law that we're talking about. EFCC must do thorough investigation and carry out their duties without attachments, so that politicians do not end up impeding on their character. When they apply the law, they should apply it disproportionately, like this naira money, naira mutilation or naira abuse. You see that kind of disproportionate application. If you want to do it, issue a statement. From today, henceforth, anybody who is found to be abusing the Naira, A, B, and C will be done. Now you went straight and perform operation on 2 people. And that means you can do that retroactively. People are asking the question, why are other celebrities not touched? You see that kind of disproportionate application of the law. But if you had said from today henceforth, that means you are not looking backwards, you are looking upwards. 3, allow people who have the knowledge of operation to carry out the operation as a body. But much more than that, do that investigation. Don't rush because of media frenzy. Because the work of that commission is only a success if you secure conviction, not the drama that leads before the conviction. And if your conviction rate is more on Yahoo than on high-profile people, you cannot adjust yourself as successful. All of these things are very important. Forget about what the president thinks of whether you are, so we need to package some things to show we have achieved something. Don't forget about that. Do your job. The president has infrastructure to know whether you're working or you're not working.
Okay, Mr. Bwala, quite interesting, analogy there. And it just gives a peek into what plays out behind the scenes. And as you said, perhaps the president is watching and he will be doing some things to ensure this does not happen again. And that just brings me naturally to the next points. You've talked about the president quite a lot today. I know you've had meetings with him in Abuja, in France. And some people are thinking, are you like one of his closest friends now, or confidants, or what have you? So maybe you can give us a peek into the president's mind, particularly as it concerns the state of the polity. There are a lot of people that wonder, what is the president doing for the economy on the one hand? They're asking, what is the president doing regarding insecurity? We just saw what played out with some agitators, the Democratic Republic of the Yoruba, and people were thinking, how did that even happen in the first place? Now that you have someone from the Southwest as president. So as someone who's met the president, I don't know how much you people exchange, maybe phone calls or meetings or what have you. Do you have an insight into maybe how the president is approaching all of the happenings, economy and security, particularly in the country?
Right. So I was privileged, one amongst over 200 million Nigerians, to be privileged enough to have the attention of the president. We've met twice, but we have been communicating, and I count that as a privilege. And if you ask me to tell you about the disposition of the president, I will tell you that this president is preoccupied with this idea of bringing economic reforms to the country. That's why he took those decisions that were not popular, because he thought that, look, it is better for us to face the responsibility, deal with it once and for all. In both occasions that we met, the conversation has been around the polity and how to advance it, not politics. It will intrigue you to know that these 2 occasions that I've had with the president, we never discuss APC or PDP. And the media are saying, are you there? Have you come? He never discussed that. He will talk about the economy, what he needs to do, how he's pushing it. He's going to hold people accountable. He will talk about security. This is his perception. What do you think about it? How he will make it work. He will talk about foreign policy as well. How that Nigeria must be positioned in a way where it provides leadership, not just in West Africa, but in the globe. And so this is my thinking of the president. So nobody should bring him down to trivialities of state drama and all of that. And those who manage him should also do their best to key into his vision, key into his dream, and make sure these things work. Don't use the politics around the president to your advantage, but assist the president in fulfilling the mandate that he has.
Right.
He said it clear, and he has reiterated that over and over, that he is not about the type of person that will appoint people and leave them forever, because the time is short, right, and what he needs to do is enormous. Therefore, when he gives responsibility, he will give you all the support that you need. But if you fail to perform, then he will say bye-bye to you and then look elsewhere. Right. And this to me is commendable, because not too many leaders get into power and come up with this kind of ideas.
Well, Mr. Bwala, we'll wait to see who will probably be getting the boot first in terms of performance and the eventual repercussions. And Thank you, by the way, for giving us a peek into your library. We see that you love to win arguments. In fact, every argument right there. We'll be speaking with Mr. Daniel Bwala, lawyer and public affairs analyst.
Is a good author.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time on the Morning Brief, and we look forward to having you again, Mr. Bwala.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. We turn our attention now to something that concerns your well-being. It's about planning. You know what they say about failing to plan and planning to fail? Well, there's this conversation around vision boards. What are vision boards? How do you go about it, particularly for your finances? Today on the program, we're doing some hands-on. You don't want to miss this, so stay with us.